The year was 1962. John Glenn had just become the first American to orbit the Earth. Marilyn Monroe had sung Happy Birthday to JFK. The first Walmart ever opened in Bentonville, Arkansas. The Rolling Stones had their first performance ever. Spider-Man and James Bond both made their first appearances in comics and movies, respectively. And the Cuban Missile Crisis brought the US and the USSR to the closest point that they would ever get to full-out war. And then, of course, most importantly, my dad was born. Now, as busy of a year as that is, there was still one other thing that would happen that would dramatically change one holiday for the better for years to come. This is the story of the Monster Mash and Bobby Pickett, the man behind it. Back in 1938, Bobby Pickett was born in Somerville, Massachusetts. His father was the manager of a movie theater, which gave him access to a lot of movies, and he quickly became a fan of horror films by the age of 9. This would introduce him to the works of Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney Jr., and their work would end up influencing Bobby in ways that he couldn't possibly imagine. After a 3-year stint in the Army following his 18th birthday, Bobby would start to chase his dreams of becoming an actor, all while also beginning a musical career by serving as the vocalist in a few local swing bands. It would be in serving with these bands that Bobby Pickett would meet the man that would change his life forever, Leonard "Lenny" Capizzi. You see, both Lenny and Bobby loved horror movies and loved to joke around while playing their music. Bobby had become kind of known for doing an impression of Boris Karloff while he was singing, and so he and Lenny decided to kind of work it into an entire song of its own. They thought it would be funny if their song kind of made fun of the trend of these songs that were all about dance moves, and so they landed on the idea of the Monster Mash. They tried to sell it to pretty much every record label that they could, and nobody was interested in it. It wasn't until Gary S. Paxton heard them play the song that he agreed to produce a recording of it. And so they put together the single of the Monster Mash along with the B-side Monster Mash Party.
Igor, you're cramping my style.
It didn't take long at all for the song to become a big hit. In fact, it became a million seller and reached number 1 on the Hot 100 charts in the 2 weeks preceding Halloween of 1962. In the US, the song would be pretty popular for years to come. It would re-enter the charts a couple times, once in August of 1970 and again in May of 1973. 1973 is actually a pretty important year for the Monster Mash itself, but not because of anything that was happening here in the US. You see, back when the Monster Mash first came out, the BBC had banned it from being played. They said that the song was too morbid. And so for about 11 years, the people on the other side of the pond did not get to jam out to this graveyard smash. Eventually, it would get played on a TV show called Jukebox Jury by a band called the Children of the Night. It was at this point that they realized, like, oh, I guess this song isn't that bad. And so they just let it get released. So the Monster Mash didn't only enter the US charts again, but it also reached number 3 in the UK, as well as number 1 in Canada. Because interest in the song had been rejuvenated, Bobby and the Crypt Kickers actually went on a small tour around the Dallas and St. Louis areas. Now, the Monster Mash wasn't the only monster-themed song. The same year that Monster Mash was released, they put out a song called Monsters Holiday, which was a Christmas-themed follow-up.
'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the castle my monsters were having a Yuletide hassle.
And it even charted a bit itself, getting up to number 30. Eventually, the song The Monster Mash would also find its way onto a full album called The Original Monster Mash, and it would include other monster-themed songs such as Werewolf Watusi
150 wiggling wolves, man, it was out of sight.
and The Monster Swim.
All you would-be monsters, come on in. Boris is going to show you how to monster swim.
By the time 1985 rolled around, rap music had kind of taken the world by storm, and Bobby wasn't going to sit this one out. So he released a song called Monster Rap, in which the scientist from the original song is frustrated that the monster that he's created cannot talk, and so instead of just talking, he actually teaches it, how to rap.
I've given you a voice, now rap for daddy.
Well, I shot a million volts into my brain, now I'm ready to rap.
In 1997, the Misfits put out a very popular cover of the song, and it served as one of the few times that their bassist actually was able to be the lead singer on a song. When asked why they decided to do the cover, bassist Jerry Only said the Monster Mash was a no-brainer for the Misfits to cover as a timeless Halloween release. The song was always a childhood favorite of mine. Now, as good and memorable as the Misfits cover is, there is one that is equally as bad and equally as memorable. You see, on Jimmy Kimmel Live back in 2005 on Halloween night, Mike Tyson and Bobby Brown got together and gave us this.
For my master, his name, suddenly to my surprise, he did a master mash. He did a master mash.
Hearing the two of them talk about it on Mike Tyson's podcast years later is just as entertaining as this clip itself.
I can't believe I'm doing this. Look at me. I keep trying to touch you. You're like, leave me the f*** alone.
In 1989, Bobby would get a new manager named Stuart Hirsch. And when looking at all of the paperwork, Hirsch actually learned that Bobby Pickett did not own the masters to the original Monster Mash. In fact, Universal had those rights, and in Bobby's opinion, had been using them solely to make money, not caring about the legacy of the song itself, completely undercutting people's ability to use the songs at a reasonable price. So in 1993, Bobby recorded, in his opinion, a perfect copy of the Monster Mash so that they could undercut Universal and give people a cheaper option to use it. In 2004, Bobby would put out a song that was critiquing George W. Bush's environmental policies called Monster Slash, as well as Climate Mash, which came out in the year 2005. This time of year, the song is everywhere. I mean, it's been featured in over 80 different TV shows and movies, including a cartoon that's actually called Monster Mash. People like using the song in movies and everything because it's an easy way to let people know that the scene or episode that's happening right now is going on Halloween. It's been featured on Halloween episodes for TV shows like Superstore, Magnum PI, Pretty Little Liars, as well as movies like some you would expect like Hubie Halloween or Hotel Transylvania 2, but it even pops up in movies just to be that kind of like cheat code to be like, hey, this part right here, this is Halloween. Showing up in Spider-Man No Way Home, Love, Simon, Must Love Dogs, Silver Linings Playbook, just to name a few. In my opinion, though, the most interesting thing movie-wise related to the Monster Mash is the fact that in 1995, Bobby Boris Pickett himself adapted a play that he had written into a live-action musical starring Candace Cameron from Full House called The Monster Mash, which, to be fair, this project itself probably deserves its own video. By the time Bobby Pickett died in 2007, the Monster Mash had grown to be something that there's no way he could have possibly imagined. When you hear the song, you instantly think of Halloween. It's pretty much the theme song of the holiday. This is probably one of the only songs that I can think of that came out in 1962 that my kids personally know all the words to. And I think that that fact alone is something that would make Bobby Pickett extremely happy. So even though you might not know the name Bobby Pickett, you definitely know his work. And if we're being honest, I think he deserves the crown of the king of Halloween more than anybody. And that is going to conclude today's video. Make sure to subscribe if you like the video, and to like and to comment. Just want to do a big shout out to the people who are supporting me over on Patreon. That's going to be Cole from the Dork Side for now. If you are interested in supporting the channel, you can head over to my Patreon. The link's in the description below. Thanks so much for being here and for checking out the video. I'll see you next time. Bye.